The college football season is coming back, and we got you covered on every game. We're breaking it down on each snap all season long. Catch us every week starting on August 4th. Joe McGuire, Sean Scanlon, Jace Garcia, and yours truly, Obi Muniz, giving you the highlights, predictions, and current rankings. Visit our website at hhwshow.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's All Four Downs, part of the CMG Sports Podcast Network.
Clovercrest Media Group presents a CMG podcast. Keys to the City.
Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know.
Crossed up by Kobe, little floated to Shaq, and then Shaq goes like this, and the rest is history. Pay attention. Don't tell me what to do, devil woman. But speaking of those Lakers, hold on. But I didn't make my. I said Denver's gonna win. Yeah, you did. You said that.
There's no other show like that. Clovercrest is doing great things right now.
Streaming everywhere. Throwing jabs, always full send. Here we go again. Jared, Joe, and Jay's Clovercrest, top three corner man, punching in with a puncher's chance. We find a way to win. The main event, locked it in every Saturday at 10. The overhand is out of hand when it comes to fisticuffs. Slide a hand on the undercard, you'll never see the punch. Uppercut got you missing weight, feet are stepping late. Keep your guard up, feeling faint from a feint. Take a stand and eight, then retaliate. Put up your duke, stick and move, bob and weave. Don't lose hope against the ropes, there's always an escape. Never stay down. One more round, bells ringing, counter punch with your chin tucked and go down swinging. We bringing crosses with no worship, hooks with no verses, combinations with no locks. When you feel the flurry, it's curtains. From scrub scraps to fight stats, relax if you want the facts, cause the best combat podcast is throwing jabs.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Throwing Jabs, Combat Sports Podcast. We got a big show for you today. Big UFC, super stacked UFC 267. Plus, we got a great Who You Got for the holiday season, Halloween season. And make sure you tune in Monday. We got a special broadcast that we'll bring to you. That's Monday, so make sure you keep that in the back of your mind. But first, we got to talk about the fights that happened last weekend. Starting off with Marvin Vettori beats Paulo Costa. I know I picked Paulo Costa, but I mean...
He was 275 pounds. Why wouldn't you? No. Why wouldn't you pick him?
Yeah. I mean, the ball was in his court. He did all this stuff. He came in overweight. He was the one that cheated. Cheaters, I assume when you cheat, you win. That wasn't the case. Marvin Vettori, he's a beast. He's an animal. He's just one tough SOB. Brought it to Paulo Costa. Costa only really won that fifth round. Everything else was just dominance by Vettori. Joe, thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, look, big win for Marvin Vettori back in the win column. Both of these guys were obviously hoping to get there. He makes Costa look like a fool in the process. Takes home 20% of his purse. A $50,000. Yeah, a $50,000 post-fight bonus award. Knocked Costa out of the top 5. He's dropped him to 6. Maybe he's out of the division completely, according to Dana. We'll see how that goes going forward. I think the other thing that really came of this fight is the Italian Dream garnered the respect of everybody in the UFC. Gilbert Burns, who's Brazilian, literally on fight night was like, Vettori, let's go and beat my fellow Brazilian up. That's the way people felt about this fight. Dana now says that Marvin is probably the backup if anything happens before the Adesanya Whitaker rematch, which will happen early next year. The other big fight's going to be Brunson and Cannonier, UFC 270. That's a title eliminator. Good chance that Marvin probably takes on one of those guys if he doesn't end up stepping into that main event. In the meantime, if he's looking to stay active, Sean Strickland or Luke Rockhold were supposed to fight at UFC 268. Rockhold's hurt. The idea was he might have looked at one of those guys, the winner of that fight, as a potential next opponent. And my understanding is Rockhold is no longer interested in Strickland. So Marvin's got some options going forward, but this dude's primed and ready to go. I understand the concern about throwing him in there with Adesanya anytime soon. I do think he probably needs to go and maybe beat the bejesus out of somebody like Robert Whittaker. Not that I think he could do it, but a big win over a Luke Rockhold, or again, maybe getting the Brunson Cannoneer winner. But Vettori's the real deal. It was nice to see him dominate a fight. And Jared, I think if I still have one concern about my man Vettori, he doesn't seem to be finishing any of these fights anymore. And when you face Adesanya and Whittaker, you're fighting a step up. And you're going to lose these close ones to those guys.
Well, and fighting's not really like any other sport in that if you put up 50 points a game in college football and go 12-0, it's not the same as a light heavyweight going 12-0 with 3 knockouts. You have to entertain people, and he's not fighting with an entertainer's urgency. Justin Gaethje's one of the best I've ever seen with that. It's not about the wins and losses so much as the entertainment. Yes, you should win all the fights you can. That said, I said this would go the distance. You hit my sure bet on the puncher's chance last week with this one going the distance. Costa doesn't belong anywhere. I've been clear about this. I'm unhappy with the way he's conducted himself. Very unprofessional. Lost some respect for this guy. The things that kept him in the fight were his weight. Now, you shave 10, 15 pounds off that guy and let Vettori hit him like that, he might go to sleep. It's a different person. So I think he's kind of surfed his way into this. We talked about a couple of females that have kind of done this where they're Miguel Cotto is one of my throwback boxing guys that put on 30 pounds in 24 hours and then would go fight a significantly smaller man that they knew wasn't going to touch 170, 175 come fight night. And watch his fights. He's always fighting guys that are significantly smaller. So a couple of people have cracked this code. Apparently, Costa can't crack that weight class anymore, and he's not good enough to move up. He just proved that against a smaller guy. He can't be competitive with the division below that. So you can't make weight there. Yeah, on to Bellator for Costa. It's going to cost a career. Good thing it didn't cost Jace a head of hair.
I love that. But, I mean, Costa, he has to be at light heavyweight. I mean, you saw he had good conditioning. Like that 5th round, he started. That's when he started.
But who's he fighting at light heavyweight?
I get it.
Everybody's saying he should move to light heavyweight, and I'm going, if you're losing to middleweights and you're at your weight, your size is that of a light heavyweight, and you're losing to middleweights who are top 5 and lost to the champ twice. Well, one of them wasn't decisive, if you ask our boy Joe. But there isn't room for you to compete up there. You see these guys get to that level, and then they just can't pass that spot. And Vettori, to be fair, on a much higher level, is kind of one of those guys. Where do you go if you keep winning? You have to wait for somebody to beat Adesanya to get another shot here, I think.
Yeah.
So, there's no room for Costa.
Costa needs to look himself in the mirror because I think he was buying too much of the hype of what the UFC was pushing him. And, I mean, and you see it. He looks like I said last week, he looks like a smug prick all the time. He needs to look himself in the mirror and realize what he's doing and have some sort of drive or something because you don't see it. I don't see it. And I do think this light heavyweight division is open for him, and he can take a hold of it. But he has to make some changes. But as far as Vettori goes, I don't even think he necessarily needs to start finishing fights. When he gets people to the ground, he has to take advantage of that. He's a Josh Koscheck, just lay on the guy rather than a Khabib smash the guy when he's on the ground.
Ortiz. Yeah, open up.
Yeah,
posture and let your hands go.
Because he's so good at controlling it. He's so good at controlling guys down there. And if he can just light him up down there, I'm sure the ref will come in and he'll get more stoppages. And also he'll be able to control him down there for even longer. So I think that's the big thing. If Vettori can do that, if Vettori can figure out just get more ground and pound, this dude's legit. And this dude, I mean, that's going to be the key in his, if he does get the trilogy with Adesanya. If he can ground him, when he gets Adesanya down, because we've seen him be able to do it. If he can do it and he can smash him, that's very winnable. But he just hasn't shown it. He just gets people down, lays on them, controls them for like 3 minutes, and then so you got to be more decisive on the ground.
Now, I'll say this. If Marvin Vettori were to come into a third fight with Israel Adesanya and pull what Costa did and show up 30 pounds overweight, I'll bet you he could get Adesanya to the ground and keep him there. I'm just playing.
No, but hey, good
look,
point.
Dude, right? I mean, because that's ultimately what Jan Blachowicz did to Israel Adesanya, was he just had that significant weight advantage and laid on him. And where Marvin couldn't keep Izzy down, Jan did. And that's why Jan's still the champ. So
yeah. And we'll get to Jan later.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Yeah, we will. But let's move on. Shakur Stevenson, TKOs, Jamel Herring in the 10th round. We all picked Herring. Joe, I remember you said your paper said Shakur Stevenson, but you switched it when we were talking about it. I mean, this was the coming out party for Shakur Stevenson, and he's earned my respect now.
Yeah. I really like Jamal Herring a real lot. This was definitely, I'll admit, I definitely let some emotions get in on this fight. Jamal Herring, I just think, has one of the best stories of any boxer on the planet right now. And, coming off the win over Frampton, I just felt like, you know what, this guy can overcome the odds. But Shakur Stevenson is a really good fighter, and we saw that. The interesting thing is, after the fight, there was talk about whether he would move up from super featherweight to 135, where all the big boys are. And in Stevenson's mind, he'd like to try to unify the division, the super featherweight division, fight Oscar Valdez, and then hit all the other champions. You also want to be a star in boxing. You notice I mentioned Oscar Valdez and the other champions because it's nobody anybody cares about. Nobody cares about the 130-pound weight division. He doesn't want to move up to 135 because he's looking at Loma and Haney and Garcia and Tank and Teofimo Lopez. And that's not an appealing place to go. But if this guy wants to become a star, that's who's up next. That's the group that you got to take on. And it seems right now Shakur's not interested in that. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I mean, he is still pretty young. So I think this is
Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, that is true.
And
but,
Tank. And Garcia.
Yeah, but
and Haney. Everybody but Loma basically is a young man. And so come on, let's go.
Yeah, take a little bit of the Floyd Mayweather formula, wait for them to beat themselves.
Jace, let me tell you why you don't take the Floyd Mayweather formula, because it's pretty obvious that everybody on the planet who isn't impressed by money knows that Floyd's nothing. That he's never going to be what he wants to be, and he just makes himself look worse and like a bigger idiot every time he runs his mouth.
But that's what boxing's become. Everyone's taking the Floyd Mayweather
That's not
formula.
what boxing's become. That's what boxing's become to bros and other fools. To people who know this sport and like this sport, it's got nothing to do with that. It's still about the better guy winning. It's still about not getting hit in the face. It's about matchups. There's a lot that goes into boxing. I'm not interested in all that garbage. I don't even know his name. Jake Paul, Logan Paul. I don't know who's who or which one. If that's two different people or if it's a Miley Cyrus situation, Hannah Montana. I don't know, and I don't care, to be quite frank. There's great boxers right now, and I mean, boxing continues to shock me on a daily basis for a sport that's got promoters. They're just day in and day out failing everybody. It's shocking how pathetic these guys are. If you want to make matches that people will watch, do more of this. Because in the UFC, I mean, we're going to talk about a UFC card in a little while that's got about 8 good fights that I would have watched over Shakur Stevenson and Jamal Herring if I wasn't such a big fan of Herring. And that's not good for boxing. That's real good for the UFC because they put good fights together. I don't want to watch Rocky 3 until Clubber Lang shows up. That movie was boring at the beginning. Robots, beating bum of the month. I mean, it was literally Floyd Mayweather in the 80s. That's basically what Rocky 3 was all about. And then he met an actual fighter and had to figure out how to be a good fighter because that's the thing about Rocky. He wasn't that good.
Yeah, his trainer knew that. Watch the movies.
We kind of forget that. Yeah. They were doing the Mayweather dude. They were just trying to hide him.
So this is going to take me a second, but you make a very fair point about MMA versus boxing. So I am going to read the numbers for the favorites on the MMA card, and then I'm going to read you the favorites on the boxing card. Okay? We'll start with Blachowicz and work our way back. Minus 270. So they're all minus. 270, 220, 650, 290, 650, 325, 170, 170, 300, 240, 225, 120. Boxing favorite. 3,300, minus 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 120, 600, 1,500, 1,500, 4,000, 1,000, 1,250, 4,000, 850, 140. I'm trying to put together the puncher's chance, and there's only like 2 or 3 close fights in boxing. And the biggest spread in MMA is 600, which would be 4th on that list of 20 boxing matches. Doesn't make any sense. Why aren't these guys fighting each other? And for a guy that's struggled and come up 4 or 5 fights ago and struggling to make because he's growing as a person and he's young and he hasn't really fought anybody, let me, before I tell you who he's going to fight, say that Shakur Stevenson's a lot better than I thought he was. This guy is really, really good. And I want him to beat Navarrete because he's not really good. Because they're the same size. They should both be moving up from where they are. And let's get one more at 127, 129-ish, 130. Shakur Stevenson, Navarrete. There's your test. And he loses because Navarrete trades punches, and this kid's calculated. Stevenson's good. He's better than I thought he was.
Yeah, I've been calling for that. Have the 2 young lions kill each other off, and the winner moves on to take on the heads of the herd or pride. But
Jared, were those the money lines for Rocky fights or actual fights? Was that maybe him against Thunderlips?
The first half were the Super Bowls, and then the last half were every game between the Washington Generals and the Harlem Globetrotters over the last 2 decades.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's wild. But I mean, throw like $5 on every underdog for boxing. Just pray one hits.
Oh, I was showing Joe how to round robin parlay those. Pick the 4 or 5 you like for $1. Cost you $5 when you 6,000 if all 4 of mine hit today, and it costs $5 to play. But it's not. I mean, they're plus 1,600. It's not a very good chance of it. They're just size differentials. One of them's fighting a guy. Babbitt is fighting Molina, who's 40 pounds bigger. So Molina's likely going to get knocked out, take the under in the fight, but he's a lot bigger, and weight is something.
The only odds in the UFC that get close to that is Shevchenko and Nunes, because they've already beat all the other close ones, so they're just fighting everyone else.
Well, and even MMA in general. I mean, Kayla Harrison brings really big lines that you can't play, but MMA in general, you get 10 to 20% huge lines like that you can't even touch. And then in boxing, it's the opposite. You get 10, 20% that the puncher's chance, I literally had 3 fights to pick from. There was just nothing there, and didn't like them. Didn't feel one way or another about them. Had to do some other stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not there. MMA, it's there.
So, but let's move on to special Who You Got. Tomorrow is Halloween, so let's take a look at who the scariest fighters in combat sports history. Not necessarily the best, but what 4 faces are you going to put on Mount Rushmore of the scariest fighters? Joe, start with you.
Okay, I took this extremely literal, and I literally picked the guys who I am literally scared of. The number one guy on my list being Kimbo Slice, because he looks like a homeless guy on the subway that beats you to death because you looked at him. You know what I mean? That's a scary looking dude.
He had a yoo-hoo and I wanted it.
Yeah, pretty much that guy. Vanderlei Silva, I think is he the axe murderer or whatever? He looks like a serial killer. There's something wrong with that guy. You could see in his eyes, there's no soul inside of him. He scares me. Mikro Krokop looks like a cyborg, and he also fights like one. I was going to say Darren Till also looks like a robot, but he fights like a bitch. So he's out. And then finally, Czech Congo, just him taking his shirt off, I would run in the opposite direction. That is a scary looking beast of a man. That's my 4.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
Jared?
That's funny that Joe did that, because I took one a little bit outside of context, and just looking at him, I always said, this is a guy you don't want to fight. I don't care if he even fights good. He's just the scariest looking individual. He's big and he's mean. And Keith Jardine. If you remember Keith Jardine, he was a scary guy. But my honorable mention, because he wasn't a beast, the guys I'm coming with, these people are like their mystique would knock you out before they even got in there, So this is before they were touched, at their peak. Nobody wants to fight them. Scary individuals. My first one is James Kirkland. This is a boxer that came in to take your head off in every single fight. I wanted so bad to say Glenn the Road Warrior Johnson. You guys remember that guy? Beat Roy Jones and Tarver. Right during that time, he was a journeyman fighter that he could survive and go hard all 12 rounds at everybody else's pace, but the first 2 he was going to try to kill you. And that's how he trained. Give him first 2, I'm try to kill him. If they're still there, I can still go that other 10. You'd always think he was going to gas himself. He didn't. Okay, so there's a bunch of guys not on my list. James Kirkland, Julian Jackson. If you guys remember the Hawk, most devastating puncher in boxing history, the last guy I would want to step foot in the ring with, and right about my size too, Julian Jackson. Number 2, Ronda Rousey, because that was scary when she was armbarring everyone and one of the most dominant combat fighters in history at the time. Before she got touched, that mystique, that was the scariest I remember somebody being besides Iron Mike Tyson. Which rounds out my 4. Tyson, Rousey, Julian Jackson, and James Kirkland. If you're not familiar with those 2, look them up.
Damn. That's another solid list. And I had Mike Tyson on mine, but since you mentioned him, I'll put him at the honorable mention spot.
All right, time out. Because I see Jared and I went in slightly different directions with the assignment. Can you just give us your thought criteria before you give me your list? Just so I'm just curious what your thoughts were. That's a nice list right there.
Those are
that's
all
some bad
guys
dudes right
I
there.
looked at. Yep.
God.
Those are all guys that were like, yeah. If I make 10, all those guys make the list.
Jace would call this the SpongeBob square pick. Like, that's 4 big names. You can't argue with any of them. Yes, on all counts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even think there is necessarily a SpongeBob square pick because there are a lot of scary fighters. I mean, we're talking about combat sports, man.
I just noticed he was very specific, too, in young George Foreman.
Before, exactly. Before these guys got touched. Liston after Ali beat him is not what he meant.
Right. Although, middle George, meh. Older George, that's a pretty scary guy, too.
Oh,
especially
yeah.
if you were a senior citizen. Imagine that guy at bingo.
Hey, Michael Moore to sleep, one of the oldest heavyweight champions ever. Michael Moore. Teddy Atlas telling him it's about to happen. You're getting lazy, and he's set up that right hand. Oh, man. Michael Moore and George Foreman if you need a good fight to watch later.
All right.
Also, imagine needing Teddy Atlas to tell you Foreman's setting you up with the right hand.
That guy's a genius.
Yeah. You don't need Teddy Atlas to tell you that, but if he is telling you that, definitely look out for it.
Yeah. Should we have water? Have you been jogging?
All right. Here's mine. Like I said, Mike Tyson. Jared, since you said him, I'll throw him on the honorable mentions. I mean, the Predator, Francis Ngannou. Just, after that Alistair Overeem knockout, I mean, even before that, he was just scary, just knocking people out left and right. But that Alistair Overeem knockout is just something different.
Well, and
he just knocked the ghost out of Overeem.
Joe mentioned Czech Congo. I feel like Ngannou's the type of guy that shows up on the opposing volleyball team and you don't want to play. I ain't getting anywhere in tennis. I'll find something else to do. Thanks, bud.
Yeah. You know who else too, Jace? Engelani. I can't think of Engelani's first name. I see him in the one in the Bellator fight sometimes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
He's another one. You see this guy and that guy can kick too. That's scary.
Yeah. He's a beast. But also okay. So Ngannou, then staying at heavyweight, the last emperor, Fedor Emelianenko. This dude just a cold-blooded killer. I mean, no emotion, just goes in, knocks you out, destroys you. I mean, he just fought the other weekend, and I mean, he looked like the same Fedor from Pride, just beating up on Timothy Johnson. Granted, this Timothy Johnson, but he's still a stone-blooded killer. And speaking of stone-cold killers, it was between Mirko Krokop and Wanderlei Silva for a spot on my Mount Rushmore. Go to Pride, watch the stare down between those two. Like you said, Joe, Wanderlei Silva, he's the axe murderer. He's intimidated everyone. But then when he went and looked Mirko Krokop in the eye, that was you can listen to Joe Rogan talk about it on his podcast. That's the first time Wanderlei Silva lost a stare down because Mirko Krokop was in the Croatian army special forces. This is a dude who's killed people, and you're not going to see, you're called the axe murderer, and you're a great knockout artist, but you aren't going to scare Mirko Krokop.
The actual murderer.
Yeah. Love it.
And before I get to my last one, I had another honorable mention, but never mind. I forgot winning one ear out the other. But my last one, Amanda Nunes. She, even if she wasn't a fighter and you just saw her walking down the street, she's got that resting bitch face. Like, you get out of the way. Like, okay, I don't want to mess with this chick. but she just knocks people out. She is the Mike Tyson of MMA. She's just an animal, a beast, and damn, she is scary. She is very, very scary. So, yeah, how you look my list?
Yeah, I like to tell there. I don't know. I don't think. I mean, I get it. I get that from the dominant standpoint, Nunes is scary. She seems like a nice person.
Yeah, but
It's
I
almost
mean,
too nice. I don't like that.
she is nice when you hear her talking that stuff. But if you saw her walking down the street, you'd move out to the side because she looks pissed off all the time. But yeah,
I like it.
that's gonna do
Those
it.
are good lists. Those
Yeah.
are very good lists. All
Yeah.
legit. I like it.
Circle gets
I
a
like it a
score.
lot.
Yeah, and great for tomorrow being Halloween and a lot of spooky, scary things going on. But I will tell you guys, you no longer have to be scared of mosquitoes with Mosquito Shield.
It's been a pretty wet summer in Connecticut, and that means more mosquitoes than ever. If you didn't have your home service for mosquito control and find you're spending most of your time outside swatting those little pests, you are in luck. Mosquito Shield of Central Connecticut provides the best value in mosquito control services because of how they treat your yard using the Mosquito Shield tailored treatment system. They don't use a fixed schedule or an identical product, one-size-fits-all service program because you can't control mosquitoes on a set number of sprays or visits. Unlike the competition, Mosquito Shield of Central Connecticut will service you for the season, whatever it takes to provide superior results. This promise has awarded them an industry-leading consumer retention rating of 90%. Visit MosquitoShieldCT.com to schedule an appointment with Wade DeCesare and enjoy the rest of your summer mosquito-free.
An interim bantamweight champion will be crowned at UFC 267 as Peter Yan faces off with Corey Sandhagen in the co-main event. Let's break it down. Corey Sandhagen is 29 years old. He's 5'11" with a 70-inch reach and a record of 14-3 with 6 knockouts and 3 submissions. From Aurora, Colorado, Sandhagen's a natural athlete who played basketball growing up, but by age 17 switched his attention to kickboxing, a sport in which he won the Colorado State Championship as well as the WKA North American and World Championships. After graduating from the University of Colorado Boulder, he made his MMA debut in May of 2015 with a rear naked choke submission in round 1. He went 5-0 before making his debut in the Legacy Fighting Alliance, dropping a unanimous decision to Jamal Emmers. He bounced back later that year, scoring 2 first-round knockouts before making his UFC debut on January 27, 2018, with a second-round knockout of Austin Arnett. Next, he defeated Mario Batista by an armbar submission, then at his first serious test as a pro, when he won a close split decision over crafty veteran John Lineker. 4 months later, he defeated the always dangerous Rafael the Sun Cow. However, a year later, with a title shot in sight, he was quickly pounced on and submitted via rear naked choke by future bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling. 5 months later, he headlined his first UFC event, putting on a masterclass against Marlon Moraes before stopping him in round 2 with a stylish spinning wheel kick, followed by ground and pound. In February of 2021, he took on former lightweight champion Frankie Edgar, knocking the UFC legend out cold with a vicious flying knee just 28 seconds into the first round. In his next fight, he headlined UFC Fight Night on July 24, 2021, taking on the former 2-time bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw, who was making his long-awaited return from a PED suspension, and despite landing some vicious strikes and opening up a nasty cut over Dillashaw's right eye, he lost a close split decision, with 17 out of 23 media outlets scoring it in favor of Sandhagen. A dynamic and rangy striker, Sandhagen has one of the most fluid styles, effortlessly flowing from orthodox to southpaw and using feints to set up his wide repertoire of strikes, including spinning kicks and flying knees. He also averages 6.3 strikes per minute while boasting a 59% strike defense. Peter Yan's 28 years old. He's 5'7" with a 67-inch reach and a record of 15-2 with 7 knockouts. From Yekaterinburg, Russia, he began training in Taekwondo in 6th grade, and after following his older brother into a boxing gym, he eventually earned his Master of Sport in Boxing and graduated from the Siberian Federal University with a degree in physical culture. He made his MMA debut in December of 2014 with a third-round knockout and signed with absolute champions Burkut, going 7-1 before becoming the promotion's bantamweight champion with a split decision over Magomed Magomedov. The following year, he made his UFC debut, knocking out Turto Ishihara with a right cross. In December of 2018, he put on a dominant performance against Douglas Silva de Andrade, battering him throughout the first round until the Brazilian's corner stopped the fight. The following December, he took on Uriah Faber, giving him a hellacious beating before knocking him out with a head kick in round 3 to earn his first performance of the night bonus. 7 months later, he fought former featherweight champion Jose Aldo for the recently vacated bantamweight title. In a back-and-forth brawl, the two friends and former sparring partners put on a classic, with Aldo focusing on Jan's legs and body, while Jan slowly broke down Aldo with continuous pressure, eventually getting him to the ground and stopping it with a prolonged ground and pound. On March 6, 2021, he defended his belt against top contender Aljamain Sterling, gradually wearing him down and dropping him with a punch, as well as scoring several takedowns before knocking Sterling out with an illegal knee in round 4, losing his title by disqualification. A relentless pressure fighter with excellent strikes, Jan is exceptionally good at controlling the center of the octagon and using his feints to get his opponents to overextend themselves as he lands his counters at a rate of nearly 6 per minute. Will the Sandman's explosive strikes and reach advantage prove to be too much for the former champ, or will the unrelenting pressure and killer instinct of Jan bring him victory as both men seek a rematch with Sterling for undisputed bantamweight gold? Tune in Saturday night to UFC 267, Jan vs. Sandhagen, and let's find out.
All right. Big interim bantamweight title fight. Joe, who's coming out victorious?
Ooh, look, I think right now Jan Blachowicz is at the top of his game. I understand Teixeira comes in on a 5-fight win streak.
Why don't we cover the fight? Let's cover the Jan and Sandhagen fight.
Oh my goodness gracious. Is that I was not even just paying attention, and there you go. All right. Jan versus Sandhagen, thank you. Jared, incidentally, I'm actually working while we're doing this on your daughter's rap video. So that's literally what I was doing, just getting stuff. But yeah, no, my bad. All right, let's talk about.
Keep an eye out for that.
Let's talk about Jan versus Sandhagen, as you asked me, and I clearly wasn't listening. 5'11", he's got a 4-inch height, 3-inch reach advantage. That's going to be a major factor. It has been in all of Sandhagen's fights. This is going to be an all-action, violent brawl between the two best bantamweights in the world. The two best. That's who these two guys are right now. I went against Sandhagen against Marias and against Edgar. He won those. I picked him against Dillashaw. No, that didn't pan out for me. I'm going to take Jan, and I'm going to take I think this goes the distance. I think Sandhagen's going to hit him a bunch of times. I think it's going to look impressive, but I think he loses at 3-2.
Yeah. All right, Jared, you think the same?
You took Sandhagen?
No, Jan. Jan by decision. I think it'll be tight, 3-2.
I don't think it can go to a decision. And man, I really like both of these guys. But I feel like for any counterpuncher, you kind of need a dance partner. You know, you don't want to watch me fight my brother Joel. You'd rather watch me fight Will. You understand what I'm saying? You'd much rather be a observer for a me versus Will Brand than a me versus Joel. You've got two counterpunchers versus somebody that's going to make the fight. Will comes forward. Will makes the fight. So Sandhagen, length, reach, he's has that advantage over just about everybody he fights. He utilizes it very, very well. Like Rodriguez in the female division. Just very, very good with spacing, but Jan is just relentless. He's so you've got dance partners here that are styles make fights. Take the under, and I think take Jan. I like the under better than I like Jan. But Peter Yan in the under is the pick.
You think he's going to finish Sandhagen?
I think one of these guys gets stopped. I think because of their styles, the way it's gonna clash out, that one of them gets stopped. Yeah, and I think it's probably. I don't like seeing. When I think about either one of them getting stopped, I'm like, no, probably not. But then I think about their styles clashing in the octagon, and I go, somebody's going to sleep.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, as I said, look, I think these are the two top guys in the bantamweight division.
I agree with that. I agree with you.
And, yeah, again, the thought of one of these guys getting knocked out, I'm like, I mean, it makes sense, Jared, especially the way Sandhagen fights. And the way Jan, well, I was going to say, but the way Jan brings the pressure. And the way Sandhagen fights, you have to assume at some point someone's getting hit hard by something they probably don't see coming, and that's probably what ends this fight. I had a hard time thinking who was going to get knocked out, so I did take the easy route on a decision, and I would hate to see either one of these guys get knocked out, but that's not to say you couldn't see a submission of some sort either. Which, again, I think would favor Sandhagen in the fight.
Yeah.
But I love Peter Yan, and until Peter Yan loses in the ring against somebody, I think I'll pick him over everybody going forward.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I'm going Yan by decision. The real determining factor for me, I mean, you explained the fight perfectly, Jared. The length of Sandhagen, counterpuncher with Yan just coming forward. The thing with Sandhagen in his last fight, I mean, a lot of people were upset. He lost to Dillashaw. A lot of people saw it differently. But the thing why I saw it, the reason why I had Dillashaw win was Dillashaw, every exchange, Dillashaw was the first one in, and he got the first punch, and he was the aggressor, and that's why Sandhagen lost. And with the guy, Jan, who's better than Dillashaw right now, coming forward, being that aggressor, and if he can land the first punch in any exchange, I don't think it's going to be the same as if Dillashaw can land the first punch. I think, and then now that I'm talking, I'm more tempted to go Jan by knockout. But
yeah, I would love that. It's funny that you say that as you were talking, right? I mean, dude, the thing about Sandhagen. The thing about Sandhagen that scares me, again, we talked about the height and the reach advantage, is you think about what he did to Frankie Edgar 40 seconds into that fight. And it's not like Frankie wasn't keenly aware that was probably something that was going to happen, and it did. And you would think a legend in the UFC would be, 40 seconds in, and that worries me. I mean, Sandhagen's that kind of explosive. Against Dillashaw, I think that's one of those classics, Jared. I'm sure you've been there when you got a black eye and you're like, hey, I should see the other guy. Because in the case of Sandhagen, I mean, he absolutely battered Dillashaw's face in a big way. And I had that fight for Sandhagen, by the way. I'd also picked him, so maybe I'm being a little biased here.
It's like Bisping Henderson.
Yeah. This is going to be a great fight. That's all I know. And this is about as great a co-main event as one could possibly ask for. Yeah, my brother just said Jan's a stone cold killer. I love this guy. It's funny. When I first got into MMA, I was a big Uriah Faber fan, as a matter of fact. And I mean, Jan pretty much finished Faber as a competitive fighter. So,
well, and you think about what Jace was saying with Jan, the comparison with Jan and Dillashaw, and what is Jan going to do to him if that's what Dillashaw did? Whether you had him winning or not, that was close. It's not. I don't want to see Costa fight Adesanya.
Right.
No thanks. Make weight. Yeah.
Well, you know what might be easier to explain
Jan
this?
stops him, and the more I think about it.
You know what would be the easiest way to explain this, Jared? Is I think, and everybody, especially Jace, will understand this. I think if we explain the Volkanovski, Whitaker Ortega thing.
Hang on, I can't hear you. All right, I'm good. I'm good.
Everybody, if everybody could wrap their mind around that concept, I think we're. That's why we're all on the Jan train, Jace. I love it.
Yeah.
He's been the follicle point of the whole conversation.
But I mean, I see Jan competing to be the best pound for pound fighter, and Sandhagen's just competing to be one of the best bantamweights. That's why I have Jan.
And Jan, fighter of the year. Remember December show? We did a December show. Peter Jan, fighter of the year. He wins this one because he was beating Sterling.
He was.
I mean, he was whooping him good. And that's a guy that's good with distancing and control and length and had the reach advantage and got beat down.
Yeah.
We were talking about scary fighters and Halloween around the corner. This is a scary kid, especially in a lighter weight division. And something bad could happen to him at that distance with Sandhagen too, man. Whew.
This is just the co-main event.
I'm gonna real quick.
Stacked.
I almost was gonna I was almost gonna change my pick. Not that I'm picking off of Jan, but now I do think maybe a finish of some sort. And I guess I'm gonna say something in the second round. I'm gonna say a second round. No, you know what? Give me the fourth. These guys got great stamina. I think there'll be a couple of where but I think come round 4, I'm going to say Jan blasts him right out of there.
Plus 115 on under 4.5.
Ooh.
Okay. Damn.
I might jump on that.
All right. Then I'll go decision, and I'll say Sandhagen is able to weather the storm by taking it to the ground, and he'll win a couple rounds that way. There we go. So
I like it.
Mixing it up. But boy, that's only the co-main event. This card is so stacked. But now, let's get to the main event. Light heavyweights battling it out for the gold. Let's get into it.
The light heavyweight title will be on the line at UFC 267 at Fight Island in Abu Dhabi on Saturday when champion Jan Blachowicz defends against Glover Teixeira. Let's break it down. Glover Teixeira is 41 years old. He's 6'2" with a 76-inch reach and a record of 32-7 with 18 knockouts and 9 submissions. From Solabria, Brazil, Teixeira grew up in a rural community without electricity and moved to Danbury, Connecticut at 20 years old to find work as a landscaper. After watching old tapes of UFC 1, he decided that he wanted to be like his new idol, Royce Gracie, despite having never heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He began training at American Top Team in Connecticut and then spent some time at the Pit in California, training with Chuck Liddell. He began competing in grappling tournaments and made his MMA debut in June of 2002, losing by second-round knockout. Over the next 9 years, he compiled a record of 17-2, including knockouts of Marvin Eastman and Rico Rodriguez, before making his UFC debut in 2012 with a triangle choke of Kyle Kingsbury. He went on to beat Rampage Jackson and scored knockouts of Fabio Maldonado and Ryan Bader to challenge John Jones for the UFC light heavyweight title in 2014, losing via unanimous decision. After losing to Phil Davis, he bounced back with a rear naked choke of Ovin St. Preux, then won the performance of the night with a brutal first-round knockout of Rashard Evans. In 2016, he was knocked out by Anthony Rumble Johnson, and after bouncing back with a decision over Jared Cannonier, he was defeated in an exciting, action-packed brawl with Alexander Gustafsson, as both men traded bombs before he was stopped in the 5th round by 3 uppercuts, followed by a right hook. After dropping a decision to Corey Anderson, he had a career resurgence, defeating Cole Roberson and Ian Kutabala by submission, and then beating Nikita Krylov by decision. In May of 2020, he took on perennial contender Anthony Smith, giving him a brutal beating, resulting in Lionheart losing several teeth, as well as suffering a broken nose and orbital bone en route to a 5th-round stoppage. After recovering from COVID-19, he engaged in a savage war of attrition with the dangerous Thiago Santos that saw him rock several times until Santos punched himself out and Teixeira reversed position, ending the fight with a rear naked choke. One of the most well-rounded fighters in the division, Teixeira possesses both world-class wrestling skills and explosive one-punch knockout power. Jan Blachowicz is 38 years old. He's 6'2" with a 78-inch reach and a record of 28-8 with 8 knockouts and 9 submissions. From Sienz, Poland, Blachowicz began training in martial arts at the age of 9, initially in judo and eventually attaining a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu under Joe Moreira. He made his MMA debut in 2007 in the Polish Fighting League KSW, losing his first fight by decision. And in his second appearance, he defeated 3 opponents in one night, scoring 2 knockouts. He became the KSW light heavyweight champion with a record of 17-3. He made his UFC debut with a first-round knockout of Ilir Latifi in 2014. His career in the UFC was spotty at first, losing decisions to Jimmy Manuwa, Corey Anderson, Alexander Gustafsson, and Patrick Cummins, but he was able to turn it around in the second half of 2017 when he submitted Devin Clark via rear naked choke and then defeated Jared Cannonier by unanimous decision. The following year, he avenged his loss to Manuwa and submitted Nikita Krylov before getting knocked out by a counter left hook by Thiago Santos. He came back 5 months later with a second-round knockout of Luke Rockhold, and after defeating Jacare Souza, he got his revenge on Corey Anderson, brutally knocking him out with a vicious right cross in the first round. On September 27, 2020, he took on Dominic Reyes for the vacant light heavyweight title, battering his ribs with kicks before knocking him out in the second round with a counter left hook. The following March, he made his first defense when he defeated reigning middleweight champion and pound-for-pound great Israel Adesanya, outstriking him in every round and using his wrestling skills to neutralize him in the 4th and 5th rounds. A hard-hitting Muay Thai striker, Blachowicz has been steadily improving his boxing and grappling skills since 2014 and typically stays inside the pocket, gradually wearing his opponents out with body kicks and setting them up for his power punches. With both men riding impressive 5-fight winning streaks, can Teixeira use his explosive punches and world-class jiu-jitsu skills to finally attain light heavyweight gold? Or will Blachowicz be able to control the fight with his technical striking and legendary Polish power as he continues to cement his legacy as one of the pound-for-pound best in the sport? Tune in to UFC 267, Teixeira versus Blachowicz, and let's find out.
Joe, I know you were itching to talk about this fight. So who you got getting it done?
All right, I'll go back to what I was saying initially about this fight. Look, Jan's at the top of his game right now. The 5-fight win streak, this was a guy who just a few years ago was on the chopping block for Dana. Jan's wife basically begged them to give him a second chance, and he has not looked back in any way, shape, or form. Teixeira also on a really impressive 5-fight win streak, 5 big names, the all-time UFC record for submissions and finishes as a light heavyweight. And at 42, this guy is still dangerous. Just ask Thiago Santos his thoughts on that. I think Jan flashes that Polish power, though, in round 3 and puts the lights out. And I think that's how the Glover Teixeira should get a shot at the title, which I think is great that Dana did that. This guy certainly worked hard enough and finally earned a shot at a title. But I think I think his shot at glory was probably like 3, 4, 8 years ago. So this will be a fun fight, but I think Jan's going to prove to be too much.
Yeah, I mean, Sandhagen definitely has the reach advantage. Yeah, a little callback humor there. Okay. Blachowicz by stoppage and Teixeira retires. Those are 2 different predictions. If it goes to decision, Teixeira retires. If he's in a condition to retire at the end of the fight, he does. But Blachowicz stops him likely in the first, maybe the second. Take the under 2.5 here. Link it to that other one. You double up. Blachowicz by stoppage. I've been saying it all week.
Damn. All right.
Probably early.
Past 2 Blachowicz fights I've picked against Blachowicz. But the past 5 Glover Teixeira fights I've picked against Glover. I mean, this man spent most of his
You picked
prime-
against him in all 5 fights? Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean,
Then
he's
you might
old.
as well pick against him. There's no reason now.
Yo,
So you're 0-7 on these guys' last
what?
7
Hold
fights.
on.
And
Wait,
now they're
what-
fighting each other.
What more could he do at this point to get you to pick him?
Nothing, because I am going to pick him. Glover, this is his time. All of his main years, he was battling with visa
Lose
issues.
is the answer, Joe. The answer was lose. What can he do? Be in a fight, he's going to lose. That's what Jason pick him.
Yeah.
This is Glover. He spent all of his best years outside of the UFC because of visa issues. After illegally moving to Connecticut from Brazil, and then trying to get everything all situated, and he was just denied. I mean, he had a shot already against, I don't even want to call him the GOAT anymore. John Jones. John Jones was great. But now this is his time. I think he gets it done. I think he becomes the oldest first-time champion in UFC history. Because I just think all aspects of Jan, I will say, probably has the power advantage in the striking. And this is also the past month. I went with Ortega. I went with Dern because of their jiu-jitsu. Glover, I think, is better on the ground. I think he takes it to the ground and submits Jan. Yeah, and this is going to be the last time I pick based off jiu-jitsu. I think Glover, even if Jan wins,
I'll grant you this. I'll grant you this. Teixeira does utilize the Brazilian jiu-jitsu in fights. So if you're gonna pick a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, he's a good one to take because he actually uses it.
Yeah.
Jay,
not like your boy Paulo Costa.
You can't introduce it with stats like that, bro.
I know.
I'm 0-5 on this guy. I'm 0-2 on this guy.
These guys.
And I used this on the last 2 fights I called wrong.
But
take my word for it.
I'm done counting out Glover. I think now's his time. I think regardless win or lose, I think he retires after this. I think he wins the belt, retires, runs off into the sunset. But I mean, he's so good at all aspects.
After this fight.
Yeah. See you in a week. You'll be 0-6 in the last 6 Glover Teixeira fights.
Maybe, but I'm going Glover, getting it done. And I mean, a couple weeks ago, I was bald because I picked against 2 bald men in Usyk and Volkanovski. I'm done picking against the bald guys. Let's go, Glover Teixeira. Get it done. Everyone's on Blachowicz, but I do think this is a lot closer than a lot of people think. I think Teixeira is going to bring it, and we're gonna be. It's going to be a great fight.
Jan in the under, and then Jan in the under.
I don't know. I think Glover takes it to the ground, either submits him or beats him up on the ground, or just ground and pound. I think Glover's ground game might be the best in the UFC because he actually utilized it like a fellow Spaniard. What the? Glover's Brazilian. But all right.
We should have him on the show.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh boy. It's gonna be a great card. It's going to be fun. Speaking of which, let's get into the fight of the night. And my only notes for the fight of the night, this card is stacked with 5 exclamation points. Yeah, so any way we go, I think it's going to be good. And actually, the prelims are underway right now. The first fight ended, and they're walking out. But, Joe, what's your fight of the night?
Oh, it's Islam Makhachev against Dan Hooker, who stepped in coming off a big win that hopefully got his career turned around. For Makhachev, this either catapults him to the top of the division or this makes Dan Hooker relevant again. I say Islam probably in dominating fashion in this one, but I'm very excited for that fight. And also Alexander Volkov is fighting. I know not everybody loves him like I do, but that is a big, scary dude fighting Tabura, and that should also be a great heavyweight fight. So looking forward to both of those.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, those are both great. Jared, you got fight of the night?
Yeah, I sure do. Alan Babic, 8-0, 8 knockouts, weighs 215 pounds. He's kind of a beast, but he's a lighter guy for a heavyweight. Eric Molina, on the other hand, came in at 257. 28 wins, 7 losses. Molina has been stopped 7 times. These guys are going to bang out. Over-unders 3.5. Take the under, take Babic, but it's going to be a war. I did put Molina in one of those underdog round robins I was telling you about. But this should be, if you only tune in for one boxing match on this card, don't watch any of the other A-side, B-side, BS. This is the fight to watch. Eric Molina, Alan Babic.
By the way, Jared and I had a couple of funny things happen this week. Words laugh. And Jared, I pulled one other fight from this card because on first glance, I misread it. Khamzat Chimaev is fighting a guy from China whose name is Li, L-I, and his last name, it looked like Jingling at first. I thought it said Jingling. It's Jingliang, Jingliang. But I was like, Jingling. That's a really cool name for a fighter. And then I read it again, and I was like, you're an idiot. That's not even close to what that says.
I want to do the tail of the tape just to say Jingling a bunch of times. When Jingling started his career under his brother.
Oh, that's great. And that's actually my fight of the night because Jing Liang, he brings it. He's a gamer. And
is that really your fight of the night?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
he's a
great.
beast. And
Jingling!
He's a beast. He's expected to win big favorite, but Jing Liang, I think he brings it. I think this is going to be a war. I think it's going to be a great fight. I do think Khamzat brings it to the ground and eventually finishes him. But when they're on the feet, I think it's going to be electric and it's going to be a great brawl. But yeah, I mean, this card's stacked. You can pick anyone. You can pick the fight that's going on right now. And I'm sure it'd be great because this card is amazing. But
well done, UFC, for sure.
Yes, sir, indeed. But I mean, we're talking all about the odds. We're talking about the round robins and that stuff. And Jared, you're gonna make us some money. But first, you got to bet responsibly. And to help you out with that is JPEX Financial Group.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but you don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? And how often do you think about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies, doing the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident with your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website or give us a call at 860-430-5397.
All right. That is JPEX Financial. Make sure you check them out and thank them. Thank you, JPEX Financial, for sponsoring today's episode. Now, Jared, here's your puncher's chance. Here's how you're going to make us some money, right?
Absolutely. Hey, I usually like to cater to the boxing fans here. No close fights. So take these overs, Cantos, Cameron, James, parlay them together. 10 units wins you 12.
All right. That's great. I mean, sports betting is legalized now in Connecticut, so make sure you check that out. Use FanDuel, whatever, to bet, and Jared will help make you money. But that's going to do it for throwing jabs and all the fights. So make sure you check them out. Make sure you enjoy the fights. Starting at 2 today. Nice midday fights. Check out. Have some fun. Chill. And I mean, if you are like myself and you're traveling, I'm going to Boston to watch some fights with my friends. Make sure you go to clovercrestmedia.com. Hit the CMG Sports tab. Go to Throwing Jabs. And down there, you can download Throwing Jabs audio version so you can listen to it on your drive. Get the breakdown before the fights, before you go. Make sure you tune in Monday as we have a special broadcast for Throwing Jabs and Scrub Scrap. So that's going to do it for the fights. For myself, Big Joe, Joe Guire, Jared Jones, and Big Jace. I'm off today. I don't know. But
and Sandhagen.
Yeah. All right. But we're going to end the show like we always do. Jared, hit us with that flurry.
For my eyes only. For a long time, you guys well know I was bullied. I came up kind of rough. And I remember people saying things to me and looking at me a certain way, and I would start to identify by their words or by their thoughts or through their eyes, kind of. Whatever they saw me as, that's how I would see myself. Too often, my mother, father, sisters, brothers would say something to people close to me, and I'd carry it like it defined me, like it was a part of me. And at some point, I came to understand that if I'm going to view myself internally, then there's only one set of eyes I should be viewing myself through, and it's my own. I'm the only person that can determine my value. None of those words are determined factors for my actual value because it's only my eyes. And if it's on an external level, then there's 6-7 billion sets of eyes. And how could I really know what all of them see when they look at me? How all of them determine my value. But internally, there's only one person, me. Externally, it's the entire world that's determining your value. And what I see a lot of times is people with someone close to them that doesn't see their true value. That the words of these closest people to them, they're allowing themselves to be, their value to be determined by that person. I've said to a couple people recently, if you're going to use somebody's eyes to determine your value, they should be your own. And if they're not yours, why not use mine? Because where other people may see weakness and worthlessness, I see strength, I see inspiration, I see opportunity. I see things in you that you're having trouble seeing in yourself. And if you're only to use one set of eyes, they should be someone who sees you as valuable. So surround yourself with people that see you as valuable and look at you as valuable and use their eyes and their thoughts to determine your value until you're able to see yourself like that and determine your own value through your own eyes and make those other 7 billion irrelevant. Thanks, guys.
Knock, knock. Ready or not, there's a psycho in the ring, a scary movie exorcist. Your host, come see what lies beneath. At the cabin in the woods, let me in. For Halloween, I'll tell you tales from the hood. If you promise not to scream, I was with carrying some freaks. Driving in Christine with the lights out on Elm Street on Friday the 13th. Took a wrong turn and swerve cause I couldn't see a thing with the Shannon and a 9 and a Sunday trick or treat jarring. And then I run from cover and leave the others with a grudge cause I still know what they did last summer. Creep through the mist and the fog as darkness falls through the tall grass down a path I saw. So don't I flop and my mind split during the descent, so I'm cheating death.
Don't hold your breath.
Got revenge with the undead, Hellraiser, Candyman, Jason, and the boy from the Sixth Sense. Took a stand in zombie land with the queen of the damned. Broke the jaws of 7 lost boys with idle hands. The invisible man broken, silence of the lances. Purchased for the purse, get out while you still can. Don't look now, don't run, don't breathe now. Just hush these voices you can't trust. They're strangers, you're the guest, here's the invitation. Your final destination's with us. From dawn till dusk, we gnaw it up. Dead awake, the slumber's over. Keep your child's playing funny games in a quiet place through midsummer till next October. Throwing jabs, always full send. Here we go again. Jared, Joe, and Jay's Clovercrest, top 3 corner man, punching in with a puncher's chance. We find a way to win. The main event, locked it in every Saturday at 10. The overhand is out of hand when it comes to fisticuffs. Slide a hand on the undercard, you'll never see the punch. Uppercut, got you missing weight, feet are stepping late. Keep your guard up, feeling faint from a feint. Take a stand and eight, then retaliate. Put up your duke, stick and move, bob and weave. Don't lose hope against the ropes, there's always an escape. Never stay down. One more round, bells ringing, counter punch with your chin tucked and go down swinging. We bringing crosses with no worship, hooks with no verses, combinations with no locks. When you feel the flurry, it's curtains. From scrub scraps to fight stats, relax if you want the facts, cause the best combat podcast is throwing jabs.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.